Okay, I'm hoping that I can speak on what was kind of revealed to me. I say kind of is because I think there's more to it than just this, but this right here is what was revealed to me by God, and it's a bit kind of there's going to be a lot of pieces that it's got to be put together. Okay, and this right here is Hebrews 4, the Sabbath rest. And if you look, before we read this, if you look in here, the Sabbath rest in Genesis 2, 1, and 3. If we go here, it says, thus the heavens and the earth were completed. Oh, it says 2 and 3. And by the seventh day God had finished the work he had been doing, so on that day he rested from all of his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because on that day he rested from all the work of creation that he had accomplished. Okay, so let's go back. So we're back here. Now let's go to Exodus 16, 22 through 30. Exodus 16, or 22 through 30. On the sixth day they gathered twice as much food, 2 omers per person. And all the leaders of the congregation came and reported this to Moses. And he told them, this is what the Lord has said. Tomorrow is to be a day of complete rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil, and set aside whatever remains and keep it until morning. So they set it aside until morning, as Moses had commanded, and it did not smell or contain any maggots. Eat it today, Moses said, because today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Today you will not find anything in the field. For 6 days you may gather, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath, it will not be there. Yet on the seventh day some of the people went out to gather, but they did not find anything. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will you refuse to keep my commandments and instructions? Understand that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the sixth day He will give you bread for 2 days on the seventh day, and everyone must stay where he is. No one may leave this place. So the people rested on the seventh day. Okay. So, if you go into Hebrews 4, it says, therefore, while the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us be careful that none of you be deemed to have fallen short of it. For we also received the good news just as they did. Okay? But the message they heard was of no value to them, since they did not share the faith of those who comprehend it. Share the faith. Now we who have believed enter that rest. So we see here that entering into his rest has to be something to do with faith. As for others, it is just as God has said. So I swore on my oath in my anger, they shall never enter my rest. Why didn't they enter into his rest? Because they had no faith to enter in. They doubted. They were going by works and not trusting God. It says, and yet his works have been finished since the foundation of the world. See? For somewhere he has spoken about the seventh day in this manner. And on the seventh day God rested from all his works. And again, as he says in the passage above, they shall never enter my rest. Since then it remains for some to enter his rest, and since those who formerly heard the good news, means people back a long time ago, okay, back in the Bible type days, they heard the good news, but they did not enter. Why? Because of their disobedience. What were they disobedient to? They weren't obeying the things of God. God said to rest on the seventh day, but they were still out working. They didn't have faith. And God again designed a certain day as today, when a long time later he spoke through David, as was just started, and said, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken later about another day. There remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For whoever enters God's rest also rests from his own work, just as God did from his. Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest, so that no one will fall by following the same patterns of disobedience. So we see that the Sabbath rest comes by learning to have faith and trust in God in all things and entering into the rest. Now, I mean, there was more to entering into this rest. Like, for example, if you were to let's go into, for example, let's see, I don't know if it's going to do this. Let's see, Jesus feeds the 4,000. Yeah, they won't do. So, Jesus feeds, let's say the 5,000. Okay. So, Matthew 14. Okay, we'll go to this. When Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by a boat privately to a solitary place. Here, these crowds followed him on foot. Okay, as evening approached, came to them, a remote place. Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." And they said, "Here's 5 loaves and bread and 2 fish," they answered. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. And they all ate and were satisfied. The disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. And the number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Okay? Now, there's that, okay? Now let's go into, let's see. Feeds the 4,000. Matthew 15. This is another time. This time they had 7 and a few small fish. And he told the crowd to sit down again, and then he took the 7 loaves and the fish, and when he had given thanks, he broke them and gave them to the disciples, and they in turn to the people. And they all ate and were satisfied. And afterwards the disciples picked up, this time it was 7 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. And the number of those who ate was 4,000 men, besides women and children. And after Jesus had sent the crowd away, he got into the boat and went into the vicinity of Magadan. Okay? So he left right here. Now let's go to so there's that, okay? Then there's this one right here. This one right here is another miracle. Simon Peter climbed back to the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of 153 large fish, but even with so many, the net was not torn. This has become known probably as the 153 fish miracle. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can find. John 21. He told them, cast it down the right side of the boat, and you will find some. So they cast it there, and they were unable to haul it because of the great number of fish. The disciples whom Jesus loved said to Peter, it is the Lord. As soon as Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his garment, for he had removed it, and jumped to the sea. The other disciples came ashore in the boat. They dragged the net full of fish, for they were not far from the land, without 100 yards. This is a different one. Hold on. So anyway, there was two different types, like two different times that he caught the fish. So why was it that Jesus had Simon Peter? Why was it that he had Simon Peter catch all these fish? Well, because he said he wanted him to go with him to God. So they began to they sent their partners and the other boats to come and help them. So they came and filled both boats, and they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knee. Go away, he said. Leave me, Lord, I'm a sinner. He and all his companions were gripped with amazement at the catch of the fish they had taken. This included James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. Don't be afraid, said Jesus to Simon. From now on, you'll be catching people. He knew that Simon Peter, had business to attend to. And so he provided. So this thing of this rest, this rest of God, is to fully know, without no doubt, that he provides. He provides everything. And the problem of why things are not happening in our lives is because of, could be some type of blockage. And a lot of that has to do with unbelief and, things like that. And we're not supposed to work our bones dry to try to provide. I do the same thing, but we got to start giving into the kingdom, giving into good soil, and not giving with a grudging heart, giving because we are cheerful to give. And as we continually give and we continually seek out Him and we tell people about Him, we can enter into the rest of Him.